It's time for NASCAR racing this week. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of NASCAR Racing This Week. I'm your host, Bryce Turner. In the news, Bruce and Smith will not move a race out of Charlotte, for now. Smith said earlier this year that he wanted to move one of the races at Charlotte Motor Speedway to another track, but the deadline for scheduled changes has passed, so Charlotte will keep 2 races in 2014. Some Earnhardt news now. First up, the latest on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s new sponsor. In an interview, Earnhardt said, quote, "I think that we have had a lot of good conversations with a few potential partners about what we can do in 2014 and beyond," end quote. Sounds promising. The question now, who is the sponsor? Another Earnhardt story now, some sad news. Randy Earnhardt, who was Dale Sr.'s brother and Dale Jr.'s uncle, passed away after a battle with cancer. He was only 60 years old. Denny Hamlin has no plans of taking time off. Hamlin, who missed 6 races earlier in the season for a back injury, does not plan on missing more races later this season. Hamlin sits 25th in the standings with no wins, 111 points back of 20th. He will all but certainly miss the chase. And when will we find out who bought Phoenix Racing? Team owner James Finch said the last race he'd run would be at Indy, but then the team was sold. But the buyer has still not been named. Does the entry list offer any help? No, it doesn't. James Finch is listed as the owner of the number 51 car going into this weekend's race at Pocono. Stay tuned. We'll test the prediction power of a cat coming up, and yes, it has to do with NASCAR. But first, it's time now for my viewpoint. It's time now for my viewpoint. What happens when the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series regulars come down and drive in the NASCAR Nationwide Series? Well, let's have a look. The NASCAR Nationwide Series winners so far this season. Tony Stewart has 1 win, Kyle Busch has 8 wins, Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano have 2 apiece, and Matt Kenseth and AJ Allmendinger have 1 apiece. So for the Cup regulars, they have a total of 15 wins so far this season in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Meanwhile, those nationwide regulars only have a total of 4, with Sam Hornish Jr. and Trevor Bayne each getting 1, and Reagan Smith winning 2. So what's the problem here? Well, these Cup guys win too much. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers have better funding, more experience, and drive for better teams, so therefore they have a shot at winning more races, as can be seen with Kyle Busch. So the issue here, well, NASCAR's already sort of helped with that. They've limited each driver to only run for the points championship in 1 series. This ensures that Kyle will not win the nationwide championship this year. But at the same time, guys like Kyle Busch have a shot at winning in the Sprint Cup Series. Guys like Sam Hornish Jr., they do not. So with the NASCAR Nationwide Series, these regulars, that's the only place to hit victory lane. But with guys like Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Matt Kenseth taking the show, so much to that chance. So what should NASCAR do? They should limit the number of entries per year in the Nationwide Series for Sprint Cup regulars to 3. That will ensure that they won't win as much, and guys like Sam Hornish Jr. will win more races. In conclusion, limiting the number of entries for the Sprint Cup Series drivers into the Nationwide Series each year will allow for better competition and overall better racing. From Pete the Octopus that could predict the results of World Cup soccer matches to Jim the Wonder Dog that could predict Kentucky Derby winners. In sports, there are not only people who predict game winners, but also animals. On today's feature report, Tuesday the Cat will try her luck at predicting the answer to a few NASCAR questions having to do with this year and beyond. So without further ado, enjoy today's feature report. Here are the questions. Who will be the 2013 Rookie of the Year? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Danica Patrick? Who will win the 2013 Cup Championship? Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, or another driver? Who will be this year's most popular driver? Dale Earnhardt Jr., Danica Patrick, or another driver? Which one of the following drivers will finish higher in the standings? 2012 champion Brad Keselowski or 2011 champion Tony Stewart? Will Jimmy Johnson win another Cup championship? Yes or no? Let's see how the Cat predicts. Here goes Tuesday the cat. Beside each answer, we have down a treat, and once she chooses one treat and one answer, we'll take away the other one for that question. And here she goes. Looks as if she'll choose Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for Rookie of the Year. Oh, it appears as if Jimmy Johnson is her pick for this year's champion over Matt Kenseth or another driver. So she thinks Jimmy Johnson will win the championship. And oh, looks like she's a bit distracted right now. Probably just thinking about what her prediction will be for the following questions. Oh, Danica Patrick. That's who she thinks will win the most popular driver this year. And there she goes for Brad Keselowski, finishing better than Tony Stewart in the championship standings. And yep, she says Jimmy Johnson will win a championship, which she just mentioned earlier as well. That was her pick for this year's championship, so that's what Tuesday says. That's Tuesday the Cat's predictions, and we'll see how she did at the end of the year. We'll follow up on NASCAR in 5. Jimmy Johnson is atop the Sprint Cup points standings. Tony Stewart and Martin Truex Jr. hold the wild card positions at this time. Austin Dillon's leading in the nationwide points standings. And Matt Crafton is atop the trucks points race. Next races, Cup and Truck visit Pocono, while the Nationwide Series heads to Iowa.